Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you might be listening slash watching. Thank you for making this part of our day. I'm Justin,
I'm Alexander.
and we're the hockey podcast you're about to hear. And Alexander, do you think it will be pressing your luck if you chose to iron a four-leaf clover?
Yes,
Yeah, I know, right? I really had to pick that one, didn't I?
you always do.
You know it. And with that amount of pressing luck, where should we start tonight?
Let's start with a team that pressed their luck into defeat. Let's go back to the Stanley Cup friggin' final and
Alrighty.
recap what happened, how, why. Was it good? Was it not good? Only time will tell.
See? Mhm.
But the early results are pretty weighted one way or the other.
Mhm.
Let's figure out where we were. Justin, what happened? Who did we end up with in the Stanley Cup final?
Yes, and end up with Florida Panthers win there once again against the Edmonton Oilers.
hmm
And
And what, in your own words, how did the series play out?
very oddly, I would say, but very entertaining.
Explain.
Yes. Well, Florida comes roaring out to 3-0 start. Up this series over, whatever. You know what? I'm fine with the sweep. It's against Edmonton. This is the only time I'll ever be fine with the sweep in the finals. It's fine. It's fine. It's less fine. This is less fine. Oh, they lost game 4. Florida did. No, no big deal. Oh, they lost game 5. Oh, they lost game 6. There's a game 7? Oh no. Oh, I mean, yes, that's what you always want with the final, but oh, extra juice on the line with Edmonton in there,
hmm
and yeah, like I said, some of those games in the first three, I thought Edmonton could have won at least one of them, and one of those games in the second three, where Edmonton's on their 3-0 streak, I thought Florida could have won them. So it was just a weird series all around, but lots of entertainment, I would think, except for that one game that was a blowout, game five,
hmm
whichever
Yeah,
game that
game
was.
game game five was a bit of a barn burner. I will
Yeah,
grant you that. I think it was 7-2.
yeah, something
Maybe
like
it
that.
was eight.
I think
It
there
got
was a
it got
snowman. Yep, we saw a snowman.
yeah. Snowman in July or
I
June, I guess.
know. Wah, wah,
Crazy.
wah.
A northern hemisphere joke.
Yeah. What?
Anyway, so no, so yes, that was a very fascinating, interesting something or other of a final. It's It was disappointing, I felt like, because I felt like game 7, our conclusion, wasn't as nail-biting and as good as it could have been. I felt
Mhm.
the series could have been better if there was just a couple more games that went to overtime, to
Oh,
where
yes, that's.
you could walk away from it being like, "Man, if just this goal had gone in on this part of overtime before the other team scored, they would have had another win." Like, those kind of things, there wasn't I don't think there was a lot left that you could look at and be like, "Oh, man, if it just this had happened or just this had happened." I feel like each game that was won by each team that won, it was like, sure, there was a lot of goaltenders that got pulled, but there was a few empty net goals.
Hmm.
It wasn't we didn't have that nail biting that I feel like is best with high drama.
Yep,
Game
I agree with
sevens
that.
are supposed to be edge of your seat like the whole time, and it really felt like um, Florida wasn't going to lose the game, even though they scored the first goal. But then Edmonton eventually answered.
Hmm.
Florida gets that second goal, and it's just a bad goal to give up by Skinner.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
a bad goal.
What
And
a
as soon as you see that
backbreaker.
go in, you're just like,
Yep.
okay, that's kind of it. Like at this point, that's just kind of it. Um, and as the third period went on, you knew it was just going to be McDavid, Draisaitl,
Hmm.
Hyman over the boards every shift, every other shift. They're going to play 10 minutes in the third. And sure enough, they did. And by the time you get to the end of the game where it's like, hey, you're still down one goal, you got to make something happen, you're just like, they have nothing left. Like they
Yeah,
literally had
they were
nothing left.
gassed.
I mean, that was game like 106 for them or whatnot this year. And it was
Yeah.
just like, they've given everything they can to this team to try and make something happen.
Yeah.
So, so Florida wins the cup. Congratulations, Florida. I
Well,
feel like they deserved it. I mean, the
I
run that they
agree, yeah.
went on. you
I agree.
know, I don't feel like whether they won it in game 5, 6, or 7, 4, 5, 6, or 7, as long as they won it, I
Hmm.
feel like that's your name's on the cup either way.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody looks back and is like, oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute, you guys lost a couple games and then won the cup. No, we're not going to look at back at that in 10 years and be like, should there be an asterisk by Florida because it took them 7 games when they should have had a sweep?
Yeah.
No. Um,
Agreed.
it made scheduling people to come over or do other things tricky because it was like, hey, well, the final could be over tonight, or we could have to wait another 3 days for the next game, or we could have to wait another 3 days for the next game, or wait another 3 days for the next game. And so we got very quickly to, ooh, Florida's up 3-0. This is going to be a short series. Summer's going to start like
Hmm.
June 14th. And instead, it lingered another like 12 days or whatever it was to play the last few games. I
Yeah.
found that really kind of annoying,
Right.
TBH. And then it made the off season stupid short of, hey, we got a draft. Hey, we got free agents. Hey, we got offer sheets. Hey, we got not offer sheets. What's the one they sign?
Free agency.
No, it's when you sign the guy, qualifying offers.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Qualifying offers
Oh,
and guys go to arbitration. Like suddenly you're into like, oh, and the draft. Like
so
you
much
get
is happening.
all that stuff had to be done like inside of a week, which is ridiculously stupid. And it
Yeah.
was, honestly, it was ridiculously stupid. Felt that way.
Agreed.
And I only say that because every single professional commentator said that. So that's what I'm going to go
Checks out. Makes sense. Yeah. Hmm.
with. So for the way the end product played out, I was a little disappointed that like if it's going to go 7, at least give me a great game 7. I felt like it wasn't. I think
Right.
people
Yeah.
try and sell it like it was, but it wasn't.
Yeah. I think the series would have been different if there had been not three win streaks in a row for each team. If it had been
Hmm.
like 2-1, and then 3-1 come back to Florida, and then you know
If it was like two heavyweights counterpunching as opposed to like,
yeah.
hey, you win the first few rounds, I'll win the first few rounds, we'll stretch the thing out, and then we'll flip a coin at the end.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
So
mean, game seven, so shouldn't
yeah,
complain too much. But yeah, that was my only thought too on that.
I know I shouldn't complain that it was game 7. I'm not complaining that it got to a game 7. I'm complaining the way the game 7 played out.
Yeah. Oh, Edmonton was just
I,
so tired.
they were, and you could see how tired they were because just in the last few days, their social media team released a video that we have both now watched. And if you want to go see this yourself, dear listener or viewer, however you might be taking our content in, you can just YouTube Oilers locker room game 7 loss. And it's going to bring up either like a 41-second video or like a minute 14 video, depending on which edited
Hmm.
version you're looking at. And Justin, what would you describe in that video?
Oh, just complete another heartbreak. Just,
Hmm.
I mean, which is fair, totally fair. But yeah, just complete devastation and utter defeat.
Which I assume all locker rooms look like that after you lose the Stanley Cup.
I would think so too.
Because you as a professional athlete, you've been pushing for these, basically what, like 9 months, basically from the time you drop the puck in October to finish in June of grinding day after day, game after game, then the gruel of a playoff run, then the gruel of a cup final. And so whether you lose in 4 games or you lose in 7 games, as long as you lose the cup final, I imagine most locker rooms look exactly like that.
Yeah.
I feel like this one looks a little different because one, this was a team that was expected kind of to compete and win for the cup, and they even said it like end of last year. They were like, "It's cup or bust this year."
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
Draisaitl McDavid was like, "No, it's cup or bust." And they started the season so terrible, but they got hot. They had these crazy win streaks. They make the playoffs. They start going through teams, and you get to the final. It's like, okay, you're here, and then you get your butt slapped. The first 3 games, you're like,
Yeah,
oh,
that was
these
embarrassing.
guys are out of it. And they're like, no, we're not dead yet. We haven't been dead yet all season. And then you climb back to almost the mountain peak and then fail. I feel like that locker room was a little bit heavier than other ones.
Hmm.
And so I thought that was interesting. I was curious how much you felt bad for them as a Calgary Flames fan or how much you sat there and like, Boy, I could kind of watch this on a loop.
um, I don't know. I mean, I respect Connor McDavid as like a person because he's never really ever once complained, or if he has, it hasn't been to the public. And to be in his situation year after year in the Oilers camp and not complain and throw a fit and demand a trade, that's huge kudos to him. I will say I did not really hurt my feelings at all to see Corey Perry sitting there long and forlorn and down. That was yeah, I was good with that. You know.
Something about a worm crying is just satisfying to the soul.
Yeah.
I didn't know worms could cry, but when they do, it's something to behold.
Yes, I would agree with that. So, but yeah, no, I
Okay.
mean, kind of mixed on it. If Connor McDavid goes somewhere else and wins the cup, I'll be more than happy for him. But I would rather he not win a cup in Edmonton.
Okay. I uh I had another friend that's a Flames fan, and he came over
Mm-hmm.
and watched the final game with me, and
Oh, nice.
um, I I asked him like, so um, obviously you're pulling for the Flames, but like there's no party that like wants like a Canadian team to win. Or, like
Nope.
he goes, I would rather Edmonton lose the Stanley Cup final if it means that like if the Flames don't win a cup for 25 years, so long as
Mm-hmm.
Edmonton doesn't win one.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with
It,
that. Yep.
it was literally like there is no Canadian loyalty. Um,
Nope.
I'm like,
Unless you're
okay,
like an actual
I,
Canadian, then maybe.
hmm.
But
uh,
yeah, I never.
no, he was born and raised Calgary,
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. No,
so
I never
he is.
understood that. I heard a bunch of that. Oh, we got to cheer for a Canadian team. No, we don't. No, we don't. No way.
Does that mean I have to cheer for an American team? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
no, you like who you like, you don't like who you don't like.
Hmm.
Nothing should change that.
Yeah, no, like I said, that argument didn't make a lick of sense to me at all. Nope, nope, nope.
Okay. Now, speaking of arguments that do or don't make sense, we end
Uh,
the season, and the Edmonton Oilers have a general manager in Ken Holland, who it was known leading up to the end of the season that he was not going to be continuing as general manager, whether he was going to become like president of hockey operations, if you're a different general manager, they find some other place to put him, or he goes somewhere else, or just retires and hangs out at his cottage all forever, whatever. But it was known that he was not coming back; that this was his last run. And so, sure enough, he's gone now. Um,
right?
I don't think he's landed anywhere. I think it's been speculation, but I have not seen anything announced that he's like working for
Yeah,
another organization
yeah,
or
I'm
still with
same.
Edmonton.
Yeah.
But Edmonton, with all the GM candidates that are available, and being, hey, we have McDavid, we have Draisaitl, we have a team that just lost the Stanley Cup. Like you would think that's a highly desirable place to
Oh
go.
yeah, hundred
You should
percent.
have your pick of the litter of who you want to bring in.
Mm-hmm.
Would you think it's good to A, promote from within,
Okay.
B, go after somebody who has recently been fired from another team,
Mm-hmm. A popular
or
choice.
or or C, go for somebody that's maybe been out of the game for a while, or
That's a good
D,
choice.
D, go for somebody that was removed from the game for helping cover up sexual assault.
Worst choice.
Which one of those four options? I feel like there's one that should just be taken off the table right away,
Yeah, the worst
and then
choice should
the
not be
other.
happening. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And so, of course, they're going to go with D,
Yeah.
and they bring in Stan Bowman, the former general manager of the friggin' Chicago Blackhawks.
Right. Yeah.
And this is one of those stories where it's like, okay, well, how long should the guy have to be out of work to like pay his debt to society, or
Right.
what?
Yeah.
How much punishment should he have to put up with? And it's like, well, I guess he put up with enough. It's like, okay, 3 years. Was it 3 years? 2.5 years? Sit out.
Something like that.
Um, and then now you can come back and you can not just. I would be okay if it was like, hey, he had to come back and GM Columbus,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
You have
It's
to
like
get a bottom
you got
six
to
team.
work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to work your way down in the lower echelon of
Uh,
popularity and prestige. Like, just come back and prove that you're not a turd.
Yeah, if you can turn
Uh,
Columbus around,
let,
then
let
yes, you deserve any job you want.
let people kind of forget, you know. But I feel
Yeah.
like this was a this is a desperate ownership group or desperate manager that's like, look,
Mhm.
we have to win the cup, and maybe if we bring in a guy that's won 3 Stanley Cups, even though he did it with, some activities that maybe they wouldn't have won cups if they were distracted by the truth. I get maybe you think you're bringing in like, oh, this is a big name sort of thing.
Mhm.
If you look at the record of the Blackhawks, what they did once he became general manager, he won cups with somebody else's team, as
Pretty
general
much.
managers often do.
Yeah.
And then when it came time to keep the team going, he overpaid all the veterans and tanked the team,
Mhm.
and then lost his job
Yep.
for reasons.
Yep.
It's like,
Yeah.
why? And maybe he's going to come in and win a cup or two with this core that he did not build, and then make a bunch of terrible contracts and decisions, and Evans is going to suck for a number of years getting over what Stan Bowman does. I don't
Yeah.
know. I thought it was a not a great choice
I would agree with that. Yeah.
for what if you have your pick of all the fish in the sea, right?
Yeah.
Why are you taking the ugliest fish? Is maybe it's bigger than the other fish, but why are you taking the ugliest fish?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's my feelings on the matter.
No, that's also mine. It's like,
I again was not consulted for my opinion,
I
and
know,
therefore must
rude, rude.
freely.
Some people.
I would rather be paid for this.
Yeah. No, I'm there with
But
you. I saw some speculation. Oh, I think they'll fire the coach and hire Joe Quenneville too at some point in the year.
oh, okay, okay. Before this
Oh.
episode is over, I have a Joel Quenville deal for you as well. Don't let me
All right, I will try not to
don't let
touch
me
fruit.
get off that. All right.
Bring him
Now,
to the Andy.
when it comes to general managers, they are, or are they not, kind of all in the club of the good boys club. Like they all
Mm-hmm.
like they got their own general managers club, and it's like, hey, we don't do this outside the club, we don't do this inside the club, we don't do
Mm-hmm.
this to each other, even though we're allowed to, we don't do it. Right? There's just like we don't fully explicit things against each other's teams. Particularly, like there's a day where everybody kind of agrees in the preseason to cut all their guys to where
Mm.
waiver has like 30 some guys on the waiver wire. And it's just kind of expected, look, don't pick guys up off of waivers. We're just trying to get guys down from our training camp to our AHL team for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's not time to go stealing other guys as players. That's just kind of an
Yeah,
unspoken
unwritten rule.
rule. Or
Yeah.
maybe,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. Another one is, hey, offer sheets are legal, but you really don't do them. We've had 10 of them in the last like 15 years, and only 2 of them were even ones that the team didn't match and the player
Right.
actually changed hands. It's just, it's legal, but just we don't do it. We just don't. Like, we're not those people.
Yeah.
Unless, and this is where things get interesting, because the St. Louis Blues and Pittsburgh Penguins traded draft picks, which happens a lot on draft day, but this
Mm-hmm.
happened in the middle of freaking August where everybody's at their cabins. Nobody's around doing anything. Why are guys trading draft picks in the middle of August? Which, as soon as you see that, you're like, oh, I'll bet you I know what's going on. And sure enough, like an hour later, we knew what was going on. The St. Louis Blues did an offer sheet. No, they did not do an offer sheet. They did 2 offer sheets to 2 players on the Edmonton Oilers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Chef's chef's kiss.
Oh yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Now, there are a couple elements to this. One, everybody knows Edmonton's cap situation, being a Stanley Cup contending team, is going to be crap. Like that's the
Oh
way
yeah.
it is. You cannot
100%.
contend for a Stanley Cup and not be over the cap in some way. That's
Right.
just the league it is right now. Everybody's already spent the money of the cap going up. They're like, well, the cap's going up next year. Well, guess what? The cap's gone up, and you've already spent that money from previous years saying, well, the cap's going to go up. True,
Yeah.
but you spent it already.
Yep.
And so they don't have the money right now for a couple of their young players. They're like 22 and 23 years old. Uh, third line winger, maybe a second line defenseman, potentially.
Sounds right. Yeah.
The Blues, who are not as good as they used to be and going through kind of like a retooling. I would say they're not going through a rebuild. They're trying to retool with some of their young talent, some of their veteran talent, and figuring out what can we do to not suck again. And apart from changing the goaltender, and because you signed him to a long-term deal, they offer sheet Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg on the Edmonton Oilers. And there's a couple thoughts on this. One, it's okay. This is the way you should do as an offer sheet: is when a team is at the worst point possible, that's when you strike because they're your Western Conference champions, right? If St. Louis Blues ever want to get back to the playoffs and get back to the Stanley Cup, there might have to be Edmonton in some way. Like that's a
Right?
very real
Yeah.
possibility because somebody's going to have to beat them in the playoffs for the next however many years.
Agreed. Yep.
And there was also maybe a little bit of a maybe some sort of bad blood amongst the general manager that Stan Bowman is back hired in, and somebody's like, you know what? I'm going to take a shot at Stan. There is maybe a little bit of history between different people that have worked for these two organizations. One being Peter Chiarelli, who I believe now works in some capacity in St. Louis. There's thoughts that maybe Ken Holland was involved in some way of like, hey, you can get back at these guys if you do this and this to them. I there's a lot of speculation of who was involved and why, but just from a logical standpoint of hey, we could get these two young players, decent players that could grow into something for a second and a third round pick, which you could never trade for them for. You go to the trade deadline, you're like, hey, we'll
Oh
give you
yeah.
a second round pick for this young defenseman. They'd be like, a second round pick and two firsts? Like, what else? So somebody actually using the offer sheet in a way that Edmonton might struggle to try and match these. In fact, when I say might struggle, I mean they will struggle. They will
Oh yeah.
struggle, actually. They're going to have to cap dump some player, like trade like a Cody Cece somewhere and send like a first round pick with him so that some team takes his whole salary so they can pay these two guys. They're going to
Uh-huh.
have to, or they're going to have to choose between the two of them and long term injured reserve Evander Kane to free up the money to sign one of these guys, lose the other one, and then figure out in season what you can do with the cap. It's,
Yeah.
it is, like I say, chef's kiss. Like
Uh-huh.
this is hitting a ship that was like just coming out of a major battle, and they're trying to get their rudders back installed, and you're just like, hey, let's throw a Molotov cocktail over the board. Let's see what happens. If they have a fire on deck,
Right, I'm sure it'll be
and so
fine.
now there's a fire on deck, and considering it's an oil rig, that fire can spread pretty quick.
That's pretty ironic right there. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, what were your thoughts when you found out there was an offer sheet? Two offer
Yeah.
sheets.
I kind of chuckled to myself a little bit. Especially when I heard
Yeah,
he's gonna really hamstring the Oilers for basically everything you just said there. It's like, oh man, that's just delicious. That part I
it
get
was
behind.
it was quite possibly one of the most jaw-dropping things we've seen this offseason. That's why we're not talking a lot about the stuff this offseason, guys, because one, there wasn't a ton of like, oh man, there was this blockbuster trade between three teams and these
Yeah,
all
right.
stars changed it.
Yeah.
It's the NHL. Everybody keep your pants on. This
Yeah.
is not going to be that exciting,
Uh-huh.
and it hasn't been. We'll cover that stuff in our season preview when we
Yep,
go
yep,
through the teams,
yep,
talk
yep.
about some changes and stuff. Patient. We got another month probably before we get to that point. Month or two, actually, month and a half. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
end of
yeah.
September, early
Yeah.
October.
But do have to talk about offer sheets when they happen. And because
Yeah,
yeah, like you said, they don't have very often. Which reminds me, like, where's Jeff Merrick when you need him? Because he loves offer sheets. He thinks they should happen more often.
exactly. And I would love to get his thoughts on this because it actually happened. And
Yeah.
32 Thoughts dropped a podcast today to cover these offer sheets, but
Uh,
it was just Elliot.
yeah, I was
Why?
hoping for some news, some update. I heard from the Puck podcast. I didn't even know until a few weeks ago that Merrick's out. He gone.
He gone.
Yeah.
He's so gone. I
Yeah.
listened to the Athletic podcast they did after that with like the two reporters for the Athletic that like investigated this to actually
Hmm.
find out okay what happened, what went on. I was like, oh, this sport's stupid.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
I thought it was the quietest firing like ever. Like nobody knew for a decent amount of while. Like I said, I wouldn't have known unless the Puck podcast didn't like casually happen to mention it. Hey, did you hear that Jeff
Hmm.
Merrick got fired? Wait, what?
Hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
So,
So,
it, for those of you that were not, closely following this, Jeff Merrick has been doing hockey kind of his entire career.
mm-hmm.
Sportsnet, he might have been on some of the other networks previously. I don't know, but
I
um,
can remember.
very, very big, popular name in the commentary, opinion,
Mm-hmm.
hosting,
Mm-hmm.
beat hockey. Big public figure. And I mean, he had a radio show. Like during the season, he
Oh
has
yeah.
5 days a week, an hour-long radio show in Canada talking hockey. Like this is a name brand guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then a
And
podcast or two on top of that, and then
and what he was busted for, and there's some context to this. The NHL draft is in Vegas.
uh-huh.
Big event in Vegas.
Uh-huh.
This is in Vegas. Keep
Uh-huh.
this in mind.
Vegas. It's where? Vegas? Okay, cool. Vegas.
Vegas.
Uh-huh.
The broadcast has a clock of so and so. This team's on the clock to draft, and they get 3 minute countdown, and then
Mm-hmm.
3 minutes is up. They're like, "Hey, the pick is in," and then there's like 2 more minutes before they go up and do anything. Like, there's a lot of dead time. Where you're like wondering, what's going on? Well, it's a marketing thing. You got advertisements, you got commercials you
Mm-hmm.
got to get to. You got
Mm-hmm.
it. They know the draft's going to take 3 hours because they're going to say, "Well, we're going to make sure it takes exactly 3 hours."
Huh.
This isn't that hard. We're in control of the entire arena, the entire invite. We have our fingers on everything. There's nothing that gets out that we do not want out. Now, so that your coverages, ESPN, Sportsnet, whoever's covering it, has some heads up and gets their highlight packages ready and gets their personalities. We're like, oh yeah, this is a great pick. I thought they were going to take this guy here, sort of thing, because yada 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 yada. They get a little bit of a tip.
Mm-hmm.
They get a little bit of a let's just say they're a little precognitive because the team picks who they're going to pick, they submit it, the NHL then tells the networks, and then a couple minutes later, minute later, however long, they go up and actually announce the pick.
Yep.
So with this extra information that Jeff Merrick is getting,
Huh.
he's sending it to a friend of his. Okay,
Huh.
that's fine. That
Sure. No biggie.
doesn't change. Like you're not changing who's picking. It's not like he's texting it out to like the world, to where like
Right.
before the broadcast even comes back, hey, this is the next pick, or like Eric doesn't break stories. That's not what he does. He comments on things and asks, how does this work?
Yeah.
Very, very notably.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the NHL, not Sportsnet, that takes issue with this and goes right to the gaming, or no, it's the Gaming Commission. I think goes
Yeah.
right to the
Yeah.
NHL with this
Uh-huh.
because they're thinking, hey, because keep in mind, we're in Vegas.
Yeah.
If you had in a heavy betting commodity just a 30-second heads up on what the next pick would be, you could manipulate that for your gain.
Right.
You could.
Except I don't think there are.
No one has said that they were.
Yeah. Is there even betting on draft picks?
Oh, there's betting on everything,
Oh,
bro.
I mean that's fair, but still, it's like I can't imagine
Even
Vegas
even
is
if it's
sitting
not in the
odds.
big, even if it's not on like the big sports books and the betting apps and stuff. If you are
Yeah.
in Vegas and you kind of got like this setup, like, hey, I know a guy. He'll know the picks before they're announced. I'll have 15 seconds to be like, hey, you know what? I think it's gonna be this guy. Give me $15 on this guy,
Right.
and you nail it 5 times in a row. It's gonna raise some questions.
Yeah.
Nothing, nothing has come out that that's what happening.
No.
It only had the potential look of, hey, maybe something's going on.
Right.
But even just the whisper of anything it could be in any way improprietary was out goes Jeff Merrick. Maybe there's more to the story. I guarantee you
Oh yeah.
there's more to the story. I don't know that we'll ever hear it. I don't know
Probably
that
not.
Merrick will ever come out and say his side of everything because I assume there's probably some non-disclosure agreement he had to read to get his full contract paid out to him when he was
Probably
terminated,
yeah.
or like it's all lawyers and stuff at that point, which is why it probably took so long for it to come out because it was probably like, hey, we can't keep you here because the gaming commission told the NHL that you got to go, and the NHL is telling us that you got to go, and we're a rights holder and we don't want to mess up our relationship with
Yeah.
our cash cow, so
We want you to stay, but
they,
our hands are
they're sticking
tied,
with it.
so bye.
Yeah. So Merrick's out, and I am wondering if he's going to show up on like the Daily Face Off as a host, if he's going to show up on the Steve Dangle Podcast Network as having his own show, if he's going to go straight to TSN.
I'm hoping he goes
I
to
feel like
ESPN, but who knows?
I'm guessing, given what it was and kind of the publicity of it, he's going to have to kind of do his own thing on like some smaller network thing. I don't
Probably
think
so.
ESPN can be like, hey, this guy just got fired for potentially doing something maybe illegal that nobody thinks he did. Yeah, we'll bring him on and have the entire ESPN American crowd be like, who's this guy?
Yeah,
He's
see,
kind of
that's if he
annoying.
gets out on ESPN, like 10,000 people maybe are gonna know who he is, if that. So I think it's fit. See, I'm
Maybe he can go work with his buddy Greg Wyshynski, and they can be
yeah.
all, hey, you're my favorite guy. Hey, you're my favorite guy. Remember we used to do this thing that we mentioned every single time we talk? Yes, I do. Um,
Yeah.
anyway,
Anyway,
Merrick's out. Our lives are going to move on.
right? Yep. Honestly, I'm surprised Elliot didn't even say anything at all. Maybe he can't. I don't know.
I guarantee you he can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
So
he's even allowed to acknowledge it or say his name.
yeah. If you say Merrick,
Now,
we're gonna censor it out and fine you $5,000. What?
yeah,
Uh,
there's somebody standing behind his editor being like, "Did he say that? Yes, you that.
get the spray ball
Cut
ready. Psst, psst.
cut that out. Grab the bat. Tell him
Hmm.
we need to see him in the alley."
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
now,
So
on the 32 thoughts also dropped today because there was Leaf news. I think it was
well,
more
that was
because there
awfully
was Leaf
convenient,
news
wasn't it?
than because there was an offer sheet. It's like, oh, we got to talk about this.
Emergency cast.
Leaf news. What could possibly happen in Leafland this time of year that's going to make a huge difference in their season? Newsflash: freaking nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. You took a letter off of an old dude and put it on a younger dude.
Yep.
That's what you did.
Woo. Which I mean, I
This
guess
is
at least
like,
they did it when no other news was happening. But yeah.
uh, well, that's my other question is why now? Why do this in the middle of summer when like everybody's away? Like you were, I assume it's because you were trying to hit peak downtime,
Hmm.
which is probably what they're doing with the offer sheet, right? Like, hey, these guys might not even be in the office this week, and now we're gonna screw their vacations and everything up. They have to call guys back from out of the country to come back and work on trying to figure out this cap situation they're in. I
Yeah.
assume it has to do with that to a degree
Oh,
of
probably yeah.
they don't want this story being the headline of training camp of the start
Hmm.
of the season of this was like guys, you all know this was kind of coming.
Yep.
It's kind of awkward because we're probably actually more stripping the captaincy from Tavares and giving
Yeah.
it to Austin, but it's
It's
in
always so
conjunction with
weird when that
Tavares, meaning,
happens.
like, so John, do you want to rip the C off your chest and give it to me, or do you want me to reach over and pull it off of your chest? Like, you get to, you're involved in this decision,
Yeah.
um, sort of thing.
Right.
But um, no, so Austin Matthews now gets to put a C on his chest, and we're all
Woo.
like, okay, can we
Move on.
care? Nope,
Nope.
nope,
Cool.
can't. Because what does a captain do?
Well, he's supposed to lead. You know,
Yeah,
set examples.
and
Yada yada yada.
I guess how does Tavares do that?
Uh,
By being really quiet and not saying anything.
right.
You know who also is really quiet and doesn't really say anything? Stud Matthews and every other hockey player ever.
Yeah.
So our captain's important, maybe to the team internally in some
Like the
way.
locker room situation. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the decisions and how you talk to coaches or deal with discipline in the room or whatnot. But
Yep.
I don't know that they matter as much as maybe they used to
Yeah.
some degree. Because
I will
I,
say. Oh, go ahead.
I don't know that there's a ton of. I feel like it's more of a historical thing than it
Yeah.
is a meaningful change your team kind of thing.
Right. I will say I remember the Flames podcast commenting on that for 1 year. The Flames didn't have a captain, and they said that was kind of rough, just communication wise, like who's the coach going to talk to directly about these things and yada yada yada. So it's that part of it's like a little bit easier to have a captain because then the coach doesn't come down the whole team. He's talking to the captain, and the captain, does the job. But yeah, I think you're right. It's not as big of a job as it used to be. I think it's just
Hmm.
more a little more prestige and recognition and but
And you know what you really let you do? It lets you sell a whole nother round of Matthews jerseys.
well, I have the
Because
one
now you're
without the
going to have one
C,
that has the C.
and now I have one
Which
with the C.
I think you can go in and just get the C put on. Like, and
Oh,
people do that
probably.
for free. Like, you go down to the team store, you can get that done. Or you can just
Yeah.
iron on patch it yourself, or just put on some white electrical tape and
I
call it
say
good.
just draw it on. I'm sure it'll look fine.
So,
Can't look any different than the milk, promo on their shirt. So,
yeah. So my question then for you, Justin,
meh.
little quizzical here for you.
Uh-huh.
Captain, my captain.
See.
If I told you there are currently 6 NHL teams that do
Oh,
not have a
yes.
captain, could you tell me those 6 teams and how many guesses would it take you?
Well, I saw something about that the other day, but I don't recall them all. I don't
So
think
you
you're.
should probably be able to get pretty close.
I don't think I'll go 6 for 6. But there were a couple surprising ones on there, and then like I said, I don't remember like because I think Anaheim was one of them.
So how many guesses do you
Uh,
think you should get to try and get all 6?
say 9. Yeah, we'll go with 9. That seems
9. Okay, so you get
reasonable.
3 strikes. So
Yep,
thir-
basically,
three
yeah.
three strikes. Yeah. Okay.
Uh
All right. Well then,
huh.
I will hold up my fingers here because this is how I count.
Very visual platform, yes.
Very visual. And being that there's only 6, I'll get to put one hand down very quickly. So this is not that bad.
Right.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Give me a team in which you are very confident does not currently have a captain.
So I think it was Anaheim. Was one.
Anaheim is correct. So there's 5 left.
Okay, Seattle.
Seattle is correct. There is 4 left.
Was it Columbus?
Columbus is your first right. They
Okay.
have Boone Jenner.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, there's somebody that was close to Seattle. Shoot, maybe I don't remember as many as I thought. Oh, Chicago.
Chicago's current captain is vacant.
Okay. Yeah. I'm like, I thought there was one in the seas, so Chicago. Okay. So I have three, and I have three more and one strike.
3 more and 1 strike.
Okay. Let's see here. Trying to think of some other crummy teams. I want to say something weird, like um, what's who? Is it the Devils?
The Devils, the New Jersey. Nico Heischer is their
Nico
captain. That
Fisher.
is your second strike.
Okay. Let's see here. Oh man. No. San Jose.
San Jose is Logan Couture,
Wow.
believe
All
it or not.
right.
I don't
Oh
think he's
well.
played last year, but
Yeah.
and that's your third strike, my good sir. Now, I will give you some hints to help you get the last 3.
Okay.
One of these teams did not re-sign their captain this offseason. He went to free agency.
Oh, Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Duh. Okay.
One of these teams doesn't have a captain because they just acquired the entire roster.
Yep. Utah. I don't know. I thought about them
Okay.
right at first. About their guess. Okay. Utah.
And then this last team, I don't know that I could name the last captain this team has had because they have sucked for so long and not made the playoffs for so long, nobody really cares.
Oh, Buffalo.
Buffalo, there you go.
All right.
So that's my game.
Fun,
Both
fun,
captain,
fun,
my
fun.
captain.
Yes. Yeah.
Now,
I was
as
surprised
as
by
we
some of
close up,
those. Yeah.
as we head towards close here, there's one more captain that I'm going to talk about,
Okay.
and that would be Captain Canada, or whatever you want to call him,
The Golden
Sydney,
Goal.
the Sydney the freaking Crosby. It was
Yay.
talked about that maybe Crosby, this is his last year. Maybe he's going to want to go somewhere else in his career, or what's the extension going to look like that he's eligible to sign? How come he didn't sign like July 1st and whatnot? because it's like, well, he's still playing well enough that like he's
Mhm.
got some years left in him, but you're also a team that's needs to kind of start tearing down to rebuild, and
Mhm.
Crosby's not going to be part of your rebuild? Question mark.
Right.
Um, And so when that speculation was happening out, it was leaked out, announced out through the insiders and whatnot, as things do. That oh no, they're getting close to a contract with Crosby. We're kind of expecting that like anytime this coming week, and that was about 4 weeks ago,
Huh.
3 or 4 weeks ago,
Sounds about right.
and nothing has been announced. And I have thought this for a little bit of while. What is happening? Well, yeah, what is happening this February in lieu of the All Star game?
Olympics.
This February,
Oh no, that's next February. Was it the Four Nations?
Four Nations Face Off, I think is what they're
Yeah,
calling it.
I can't remember the quote unquote official name, but yeah,
Right,
that's
and
right.
so you're going to have Canada, U.S., Sweden, Finland. Okay,
Right.
um, that's fine. So what are we going to get? We're going to get best on best. And so what are we expecting? We're expecting lines of mm, the best players in the world playing together.
Mhm.
Well, some of those best players are actually kind of buddies. Somebody
Uh,
named Sidney Crosby and Nathan
mhm.
McKinnon.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, one is at the apex of his career, the other is not anymore. One's team is contending for cups for the next several years, the other is not.
Mhm.
And I was like, what's going to happen is Crosby's not signing an extension. This is this they're going to go the whole season be like, look, we don't know what the cap's going to look like until we get to this off season. Crosby doesn't want to take a number that's going to hurt us down the road. So we're just gonna play the season out. We know he's our guy. We know he's our captain. He's Crosby. He's a lifetime Penguin. We're not going to worry about it this season. We'll handle it in the off season. We're not worried about it. He's not worried about it.
Yeah.
Then Crosby and McKinnon play together on the same line in this Four Nations face-off for 2 weeks. Win or don't win the whatever prize they're giving these guys, the box of chocolates and a new
Woo.
car. And then the rumor starts swirling like, could Crosby be going to chase a cup with his buddy McKinnon? Like, you could
Ugh.
trade him. He only has this year left, and then Crosby could
Ugh.
decide to come back to Pittsburgh if he wins a cup, or maybe he re-signs a cheap deal in Arizona, like in
That's
Colorado.
disgusting.
Colorado kind of needs a second line center, and if you can get Crosby as a second line center for a playoff push,
Ugh.
but and you can go play with your buddy, your friend, the guy's been at your wedding, the guys you go to each other's cups party, like your
Yeah.
bromance could continue. I'm saying right now, something's gonna happen.
There's a
I,
disgusting thought to think about. Thank you.
I'm gonna. This is hot take Tuesday, even though it's Wednesday. That's how hot this take is. It has held its heat 24
Right.
hours
We'll still probably hold this till next Tuesday.
because I can't think of anything potentially worse than Crosby going to
Ugh.
Colorado and going for a cup and just being like, I don't want to watch this happen. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to watch any of it. But if
Ugh.
Pittsburgh's like, hey Sid, yeah, we can re-sign you to this number, but we're not making the playoffs the rest of your time here. If you're Crosby, you're like, do I want to stay here and continue to watch this fall apart?
Right.
I can see where maybe you're like, yeah, we're not going for this anymore. Like, how do you want to end your career, Sid?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I could go end it out in beautiful Colorado with my buddy, a chance to win cups.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And we just got to play each other with each other for the first time, and we see how good we could be together. Like those two guys in a power play together.
Oh yeah. Ugh.
Just we can go take out Edmonton because they don't have their third line center anymore. Like because he's now playing in St. Louis because they couldn't afford two and a
Right.
half million bucks. This is our chance. I'm just putting it out there.
Ugh.
This is me saying it now. I want to be the first.
Timestamp it. Yep. Uh-huh.
All right.
Got
So 10 o'clock Eastern, 8/14/24. This is my conspiracy theory. Now that is not the only one that I have because I
it. Mhm.
asked you to remind me of somebody we talked
Yes.
about earlier. Who was
Uh,
that?
Joel Quinville.
Okay, who did he used to coach? Most notably.
The Blackhawks and the Panthers.
Okay, Blackhawks. One of the best players played on the Blackhawks. Like
You
the
know,
best player during that reign. Who was the best player on that team?
certain Patty Kane, perhaps.
Saying Patty Kane. Did he play with anybody else that was maybe a young
Uh,
kid that they played really really well together that he plays with now?
oh,
Some guy named the Brain Cat. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
where do those two guys play right now? Where do they play right now? Do they play together somewhere?
Yes, I think so. Yes, yes. Last heard. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah,
In a
yeah.
certain
Play
Detroit town or something.
they play friggin' Detroit. Yeah.
Yeah,
So here we have two Blackhawks playing in
yeah,
Detroit,
yeah, yeah.
and what's Detroit doing right now? Well, they just missed the playoffs last year. They're desperate to make it this year. They might have a hard time making it this year. If they come out the gate and they are not heads to tails
Yeah.
right in the hunt, if
Mm-hmm.
they stumble out of the gate, I'm saying you might see Joel Quenneville come into Detroit.
How would you feel about that?
I would not be particularly happy,
Right?
but at the same time, oh, you win enough games, I could forgive anything.
You hoist the cup. Yeah, sure. We're all good.
I, I, I don't know that Detroit's the kind of team that Quenneville will want to go to. However,
Uh-huh.
if you're looking at a team, you're like, hey, I can come into this team, and like this is a team that's been terrible for a while, but is just starting to come out of a rebuild. I could potentially lead this team and get the glory. These guys like the glory, man. They like the glory. They
they
put the names
they
on the
sure
cup
do.
for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Immortalized glory.
Jeez. Yeah,
So
that's an
that is
interesting
my
prediction. Yeah.
way too early prediction that if Detroit struggles out the gate,
Right.
we could see a coaching change. And if we see a coaching change, I could see them saying, "Hey, we could get Kane to stay here. We get the Brinkat to stay here. We can get some cups in the room behind the bench, maybe at
Uh,
a bit of a discount, and let's make this thing happen."
Say Stan Bowman got hired, so it's probably fine now, right? Sure.
Yeah, and I can see where Stambo gets hired first because you don't see his face.
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't hear his name. He doesn't do interviews. Whereas the coach has got to stand out there and take
Yeah.
interviews after every game.
Yeah.
And so you'll know when Joe Quenneville's back in the league because there's going to be clips of him everywhere. I don't even know what Stan Bowman freaking looks like, dude.
That's fair.
And I follow the sport.
Yeah. Right. That's fair.
I'll tell you this. I'm going to say he is a um, 50 to 60 something,
Hmm.
slightly overweight white guy.
Yep. I'd probably agree. That's probably right. Hmm.
So you give me 5 guys that match that description in front of me. I couldn't tell you who's who unless I know who the other 4 are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. There's my 2 conspiracy theories, wild predictions, hot takes, whatever you
Hey,
want to call them.
I like it.
That's me giving you all the knowledge before it happens.
Sweet.
And and when we record our preseason episode, both these things won't be true because Crosby will have re-signed a 3-year deal,
Yeah.
and Quenneville will have been hired into somebody else that loses their coach in the offseason.
Right. Yeah. Columbus.
Like
Wait. No, they
we
can't
get another
afford to make another coaching mistake.
we get another weird off-season like weird thing that happens where like, hey, we're gonna get rid of our coach before the season starts. Why? Well, because he did a thing.
Yeah, he looked
Uh,
at people's pictures on their phones and some other weird nonsense. What? What? He did what?
he's he's still a narcissistic, egomaniacal maniac. Yeah.
Oh, we're so shocked. Yeah. Oh.
So
Anyways,
anyway,
well, I do like those. They're very interesting. Any other predictions,
I don't think my
comments?
voice can handle anything more that my brain has to say.
That is fair. So I think I'm good. So with that, lovely two notes and thoughts to think about. Thank you once again for those.
If I have to put up with your show open, you got to put up with my show closed. These are
I
the rules.
suppose that's fair. I must have ironed that four-leaf clover a little too hard, but here we are. And on that note, I'm Justin,
I'm Alexander.
and we're the Hockey Podcast brought you here, which you did. So thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.